Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so very much for participating or attending our daily press conference for Memphis Light Gas and Water. Today, we're going to be discussing the water boil advisory and many MLGW water operations. And today we have guests with us. First, we have MLGW President and CEO, Charles J.T. Young, who is at our Sheehan pumping station right now. Thank you, J.T.
Thank you, Gail. Good to see you.
Okay, we have Nick Newman, who's the Vice President of Engineering and Operations. Thank you, Nick, for being with us. We have Mark Creech, who's the Executive Director at TVA Memphis. We have Director Gina Sweat, who's with the Memphis Fire Department. And we have Brenda Jones, who's the Director of the Shelby County Emergency Management and Homeland Security. I do want to mention that this press conference is being streamed via Facebook, and questions will only be coming from members of the media. So JT, you want to kick us off?
Great, thank you, Gail. I want to say good afternoon to everyone. Thank you for joining us. Certainly want to say thank you to our guests that are here with us today. I know you all will be able to provide some additional insight that may come as questions are asked. As you heard Gail say, I'm here at our Sheehan pumping station. This is a pumping station that's probably one of our older ones, been around since the early 30s. It is one of the many pumping stations that we have had some challenges with. We're seeing a little bit of turning the corner. We'll talk a little bit more about that a little bit later today. But certainly want to make sure that we provide more information, give you some updates regarding where we are, where we seem to be headed in terms of water production overall. And I'll just say that as I indicated yesterday, I'll say again today, we are continually moving in the right direction. Nick is going to, of course, give you some more specifics when it comes to water and the pressures around the system and all of that, which, as you know, is really critical for us to lift the boil water advisory, is certainly those pressures out on the system. We are continuing to find a few more main breaks. We actually, I think, have had almost 80 that we've repaired now, working on a couple more today. Also want to say, if I was to kind of characterize where we are with our current situation, we see our pumping stations getting better every day, a little better. We're still overall in the red, but we're really about to make that move into the next better phase. We're about to get there. What's really happening now, I think, that we're beginning to see is many of the property leaks that we've, I think, talked about before, that's occurring behind the meters, where maybe there are customers who may not yet have realized that some of their property service water lines or, gushing water may not know that. Our smart meter data is giving us some information that leads us to believe that
Okay. I think you guys Zoom's figured out. Oh, okay. Couldn't get it out. Okay. But did we exit out of it? He exited out. Yeah, he make sure.
JT, you are muted.
I apologize. Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
You remember the last thing you heard me say?
No.
So start over.
You started talking about the smart meters.
Okay, and then I left on that. So our smart meter data is telling us information regarding some of the property service leaks that we have. And that data is giving us some information that leads us to believe that that's really where a lot of our concerns are now, maybe more so even than what we've had at our pumping stations. So we're leaking, we're seeing leaks all over, and we're trying to work very, very diligently to, in those cases where there are property leaks, of course, get out there and shut those off. We are continuing to ask the public to let us know if you have a property leak, if something's going on that is unusual with your water usage, let us know so that we can get out there and address that as soon as possible. But now I want to ask Nick to talk a little bit more about some of the specifics. He can give you a better picture of the health. And actually right behind me is here at the Sheehan site is our water test lab. We talked some about that with you all, but this is where it's located, where our employees are that do test the water. It actually happens here at this location. But Nick, do you want to go ahead and give everybody a bit of an update overview on what's happening on the system?
I can. Yeah, as you said earlier, our pressures are improving in areas of towns. There are people today that do have water. We was able to push some water more north, so some residents in northern part of Shelby County are starting to get some increased pressure and actually getting some water. In the South Memphis area, we're seeing some pressures improve there, and also out on the east part of town. Some issue areas that we're still having is in the downtown area, kind of midtown area, and then on the kind of on the extreme edges of our service areas. So very north in Shelby County is having some still water outages out there, and we are aware of those. And so we are working to get the water pushed out there. But kind of like JT said, we feel like we have made improvements on our pumping stations. They're not out of the red. Kind of earlier, we said earlier this week, they're in the red. They were probably deep red then. They're probably getting more of a light red and closer to moving to the yellow category. But yep. So the big thing JT talked about was service leaks and breaks. We've reached out to we've asked our commercial contractors, our customers that own lease spaces that are vacant, can you please inspect those? Because what happens is they can have water lines running to them that no one sees on a daily basis, and they're broken inside the facility, and you can lose a lot of water. We found a lot of 8-inch, 6-inch water breaks, which can produce a lot of water. So yeah, those leaks on our customer side of their meter and their service are a big factor in our overall leakage, along with our main break data that we're receiving. So that's a quick shot of where we are today. We are improving, and we're going to continue moving in that direction.
Great. Yeah. Thanks, Nick. And, and again, folks our crews are still diligently working. I can assure you that we are beginning to see some improvements. We're going to continue every day until we're done. We'll get it back to where it needs to be. We're going to continue to give you updates, keep you up to date. Continue to remember to follow us on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, as well as our MLGW website to get the latest information on what's going on. And Gail, I'm going to send it back to you. If you hear something in the background, that good news is that's water flowing. If you can hear it, I hear it in our aerators there. But I'm going to turn it back over to you, Gail, and let you take it from here with some of our guests. I think you're muted, Gail.
Okay, thank you. So our first question will be from Brad Broaders. Brad?
Thanks, Gail. Good afternoon, JT or Nick. If you could kind of handle this, my first question for you, and I have a follow-up. I know it still was indefinite last night, but JT or Nick, can people expect potentially a week of this? Is there any clear idea on a timeline and when this could be lifted?
I couldn't hear the question. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you broke up. I didn't hear. I think you said something about a timeline. I think it's about the timeline of completion. You want to address that, Nick? I think that's what it was.
Yes, JT and Nick. Yes, correct.
Okay.
Are we expecting a week, or is there a clearer timeline on when people can reasonably expect it?
Yeah, Nick, you want to address that?
We're not predicting. I do. We can't predict a timeline right now. The best way we can do is give you updates daily on where we are. But overall, when we can get service resumed, pressure resumed throughout the district, we don't have a timeline for that yet.
Okay. Brad, you got another question?
I think he had a follow-up. Yes. He had a follow-up, Gail. Hang on. I think he had a follow-up, Gail.
Okay, Brad.
I did. Thanks, Gail. Thanks, JT. I guess my question is what does this say about kind of the severity of the challenges that still remain, considering government buildings were closed today out of precaution? And as just a follow-up, I know there's been some Midtown apartment buildings that have had a busted water pipe in the complex. Is that up to the complex to fix, or would that be an MLGW issue? Thank you.
Yeah, great question. On the latter, your second question, to the extent that there is a rupture of a pipe, beyond, and we call it beyond the meter, but that means on the customer side of our metering point, that does become the responsibility of the property owner and that's really what I was saying earlier, that we're seeing a lot and sensing that there's a lot going on right now on property leaks. We're trying our best, if we know about them, that's why we're asking folks to let us know if you know about any of those, to shut those off as soon as we can. So yes, that would be the property owner's responsibility. I think the first part of your question, was it about something about county buildings? I'm sorry.
Correct. Just what does it say about the severity in certain places like downtown, like you mentioned that Shelby County buildings were closed today as a precaution because of potential plumbing issues?
I think most people are, of course, our admin building is having challenges downtown as well. So it could very well be that that's where we've seen some of our issues with our pumping stations. In fact, the one serving downtown, we've had a lot of challenges with that, working diligently to get that back online. But I think that's part of the issue. Nick, would you agree?
Nick,
Nick, you're muted.
I'm having a hard time hearing. I don't know if you said.
Nick, the question was about just what does it say about the severity of certain pockets right now, like the downtown high-rise government buildings that had to be closed.
I got you. So we talked about this kind of early in the week. A lot of buildings that are multi-floors that the water has to be pumped up, those buildings will experience more issues than, say, shorter buildings, 1, 2-story buildings. So yeah, those people that have higher buildings, taller buildings are definitely going to experience more pressure issues. And I think that's probably, in downtown has more of those type buildings, so they are experiencing those problems. And apartment complex as well. We've been working with apartment complexes all week that are kind of high rise, trying to help keep their pressures up, because each pumping up each floor requires more pressure that we just don't have right now. Does that answer your question? I'm sorry. I'm having it's kind of going in and out.
That was perfect. Thanks, Nick. Thanks, JT. Thanks, Gail. I'm off.
okay, so we'll go to Joni next, Joni Lewis, and if everyone could mute their mics, because we're getting feedback when people respond, if you don't mind, we'd appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. I have a couple of questions. The first is, while you can't give a specific timeline, can you walk us through the process of lifting the boil water advisory? And what I mean is, you all have said that you need to stabilize the water pressure. How long does it need to be stabilized? After it's stabilized, what is the process? So people can at least have a little bit of a sense of an idea on that timeline once it's stabilized.
Sure, I can answer that. As soon as we get stabilization, and near the end of this process, there will be areas that have got really good pressure, and we do get that question. My pressure is fine in my area, but there's pressure in other areas it's not as well. So what we'll have to do is determine those low points, and the crews will have to go out and flush those areas, like and cover, make sure that we've got adequate pressure pushed out in the line. When lines are depressurized from having no water in them, you get air in there, you've got to go in and press that air out. So the way you do that is to open up a hydrant. And I don't have a time frame of how long that process is going to take. That could take a day or so to do that, to get all that air out of the lines and get that flushed. And then the water lab they'll come out and take the samples, and that will be done instantaneously as soon as we got the pressure throughout the system. And it's 16 to 24 hours to get those results back. We're in contact with the state. We talk to them daily to tell them where we are. We send information to them. They'll send us something back immediately that says you're good to lift the boiler from there. So if I was to make I don't want to say a guess, but an educated guess, probably 2 days. Once we get the pressurized system out and we get the flushing done and get the chemical, get the biological test back, we should be there.
Thank you. And then my next question is, you guys have talked a lot about these private property water leaks. And I know that you're relying on people to call you and let them know, but are there other ways that you guys are able to figure out if that's happening? Because it seems like it's kind of all over. And if we can't track those, then who knows how long this could last?
Yeah, Nick, I'll try to address some of that. And you can tell, we do know about some, as I mentioned earlier, those customers that have where there's a smart meter installed, we are getting data around the flow and at those locations. And so we're able to tell in many cases where that water flow is well above what we would normally see, or if there's water flow at a location where there is a closed account. That gives us an idea that that location needs to be checked on, because it may indicate that you've got a leak behind the meter. So we are working those. And maybe Nick may have said this earlier, but we've had almost 3,300 locations where we've gone out on issues like that, where we've had the opportunity to shut the water off on behalf of the customer calling us, or because we've learned about it through our metering technology. But Nick, you want to add anything else to that?
Yeah, the only thing I would add, JT, is exactly right. Our smart meters are giving us data daily, and our crews are proactive, going out, shutting those services off, contacting those customers and letting them know they have an issue. That the only line that we don't have that type of device on is called a fire line. Those are straight connections to the company. And this is on the commercial side, not on the residential side. And this provides fire protection to buildings. We don't have a meter on those, so we don't know when that happens. So so that's when it's very important for commercial space, industrial space, warehouse space to let us know to check their properties on those broke lines, because we don't have knowledge of those until we can just find them. But yeah, on the meter side, we're proactively going out and cutting off services that are way above the flow they should be having.
So does that answer your questions, Joni?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, Chris Luther?
Hello, everyone. So as you guys have been saying, there are no known contaminants in the water supply, but have you been able to do testing since the pressure has been low? I also have a follow-up.
Okay.
You want me to take that one, JT? Okay. So we have a protocol through the state in this boil order process. So we are required to do around over 240 biological tests per month. So when you entered your boil order notice, you stop doing those because the boil order notification is telling your customers there could be an issue with your drinking water. So you don't do testing until you're able to get that pressure back up substantial, and that's when you start your testing process. But if we have a customer that has concerns about their individual drinking water, we will come out and test it for them. But as far as doing our regulatory samples that's required with this boil order in this process, we don't do those while we're under a boil order notice.
Great.
Did that answer your question, Chris?
Yes, that does. And then my second question is about how water pressure. I know you guys have been speaking about this over the last couple of days, but since we have Director Sweat on the call, I wanted to see if she can speak about how the Memphis Fire Department has been responding with pressure being down. Has it been impacting their services in terms of being able to fight fires around the city? And then to Mr. Newman and Mr. Young, how are things going within the hospitals and prioritizing public safety as of today?
Yes, great question. Can we ask Director Sweat to respond maybe to the first part? Is that okay? You there, Gina?
Yeah, yes, I'm here. Yes, thanks. So as you know, fighting fire requires water. And we have historically been blessed to have a really good water distribution system here. So it's caused us to have to step back and look at our tactics and make sure that we're using water in the most expedient manner possible. Last week, we made a request to the state through the mutual aid agreements, and we have 8 tankers, water tankers in town from rural areas to supplement our water supply should we have a fire in a building. And we've had the opportunity to use those tankers. We had a commercial fire over the weekend on Democrat, and we deployed a couple of those tankers and to bring in extra water to the scene that normally we would have been pumping out of a fire hydrant to supplement our water supply. So we proactively brought those resources into town. We have partners with Fayette County, Madison County, Hardin County, Jackson Fire Department, Selmer, Williamson County, Millington. All of those partners have been in town and are still in town to help supplement our water supply. And we've done a little extra training with our folks to make sure that they understand that's a tactic, a firefighting tactic that you usually see in rural areas that we don't usually in the urban environment. We don't have to deploy those type of resources, but we were able to bring those into town and have really been able to maintain our regular awesome service that the citizens of Memphis have grown to expect from us.
Thank you, Director.
Thank you, Director Sweat. And to your second question around hospitals, I know that we have Director Jones on with EMA. She may want to speak to this as well, because there's been some assistance that's come in through EMA to help with the hospitals. We have had a number of issues with certain hospital locations. And again, all related to what we've talked about before, that we're trying to work diligently to make sure we maintain pressure for them for their various services. And it's not just hospitals, it's also affiliated medical facilities around those hospitals. But I don't know, Director Jones, did you want to speak to that?
Yes, I will. We have been assisting hospitals with keeping their boilers serviced by also locating and supplying water tankers for the hospitals. We're also supplying bottled water for their patients. So we've been working very, very closely with the hospitals.
Great, thank you. And we'll continue to do that. We're actually in the middle of trying to work with a couple right now to make sure that we can keep the pressure up where it needs to be. So it's a constant daily issue. Nick, you got anything to add on the hospital stuff?
No, I think y'all covered it.
Okay, so next we will move to Dakari. Chris, if you're done.
Yes, that's perfect. Thank you, guys.
Dakari?
All right, thank you. I withdraw my question. It was answered. Thank you.
Oh, okay. So next we will go to Ned.
Hello, two questions. I know we're talking about, showing improvement. I was concerned though, looking at the dashboard from this morning, showing that yesterday we were at 176 million gallons of water consumed, the highest from any day from this past week. Are we hoping that will turn round the bend and start dropping tomorrow with these leaks repaired, or could we see another all-time high tomorrow, or today when tomorrow's numbers come out?
Yeah, we could. Great question. We could see it increase. We're hoping not to. Nick, I know that you've been watching that very closely. You want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, so we've really been proactive in cutting off the services like we talked about earlier. So yeah, we are hoping to see those numbers flatten out. But just, you said an all-time high. That is not an all-time high for MLGW. If you look at that chart, that's just the growth of the water leaks per this week. And then we got to measure what we typically do in an average year. But yes, that's absolutely part of what we need to see happen. So we can, if we reduce that water demand, that will help our plants be more stable. And we feel like that our plants are in better shape. And that's one thing we're kind of balancing with as far as the plants go. We need to get those leaks fixed so our plants don't have to work so hard to keep the pressure up in the city, in the county.
Okay, so if you don't have, you have another question?
Yeah,
Okay.
Just a second question. Is there like a time of day component to this? Folks have the option to delaying, some dishwashers or clothes washers let you do an overnight delay or run it while you're sleeping. If folks can delay usage like that, does that help, or is this water usage lost 24 hours a day?
Absolutely, that does help. Now with leaks, they leak 24 hours a day. So that part of it is what we're trying to catch. That part of the leakage we can try to catch. But absolutely, if you can do that through the midnight hour, or when you go to bed at night, that's when our regular load off for our customers use regular everyday things that they do, and also businesses do. So anything you can put off during the middle of the night, that does definitely help. Thanks for that question.
Did that answer all of your questions?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, our Southgate.
Hi, this is Dominique Dillon with Fox 13. I'm on Southgate's account.
Okay.
My one question is, I understand that there's been water pressure issues at 201 Poplar. How are things looking now, and how are you guys rectifying the issue?
Nick, you want to give them the latest on that? We've been working with them. You want to give them the latest?
I do. So we talked about smart meters earlier today. That's provided some very useful data for us with 201 Poplar. Their water demand for the last 3 or 4 days has gone up dramatically. So we've been working with them all day, and we've been working with them all week to do pressures adjustments at the pump station and also even at the meter and other things we can do to try to keep their pressure up. But what we're finding is their pressure has improved, but they've got some issues on their side, or something going on their side of the system that they are diagnosing now to try to find how they can reduce the demand that they are getting to that building. So yes, we're working closely with them. They're still looking to see what they can do to help conserve water in that building, but we have improved the pressure there.
Okay, Dominique, did that answer your questions, Dominique?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, Christopher?
Hey there. According to today's system status, there are still 34 wells still offline. What exactly is taking so long to get the wells back online? Are you waiting for them to thaw out, or is this about rebuilding the motors or waiting for components to arrive or something like that?
Yeah, I can take a shot at that. So that dashboard has every well that we have that we can operate. So there's other reasons other than why that well, we wouldn't be able to operate that well. So we're not going to get to 100% of those wells. Some of those wells are going to have extensive rebuild, put sleeves in, replace the strainers. They're a long-term process. So we're getting closer and closer to the wells that we think we can get on this week or to get this emergency over with. But we're not going to get to 100% of those wells. We got well on today. We should get 2 more on tomorrow and possibly 2 more on in 2 days. And then through the end of the week, we're hoping to possibly get on, and I don't know the number of these, I apologize, but maybe 1 or 2 more. But we aren't going to get to 100% of those wells. So some of those wells we have to do evaluations on. We have to do some more extensive engineering design on. So we're not going to get to that 100 point. We're just trying to get to as many as we can.
What is your what number should we be looking for to get to that 20% PSI, I guess, as we see these wells come back online? When are we going to get to that point?
So the well production is really increased throughout this week. So we're at a point now to where we're more focused on pinpointing the leaks in the distribution system. I'm not saying that problem is solved on the well side, but we are producing a lot more water out of the station than we were producing at the beginning of this crisis. So we feel pretty good about the wells. We are still getting on wells that we can to help, but we feel better about that part. And those crews are continuing to work to get more wells on that they can, but we are also focusing now more on, or not more on, but equally on getting these leaks fixed and getting the main breaks broke.
But I mean, just to be more specific, if we're looking at these numbers, we got 100 wells working, 34 off. What number of working wells should we be at to get to, that 20 PSI just in general in Memphis, where we can end like the boil water? I'm sorry?
Again, let me try to explain this to you again. That the 20 PSI, we have to get the leaks fixed on the distribution side, the customers' meters, the fire protection connections, the broke mains repaired before we can increase the pressure. The wells are what puts water into the production plant. And then we have pumps that pump out of the production plant to the distribution. The water pumping out of the plants to the distribution, if we don't get the pipes fixed and the customers' broke lines fixed, we're not going to get above the 20% until we get those done. So we can keep pumping water out to the reservoir, but it's just going to bleed out onto the ground if we don't fix those leaks and to increase the pressure.
Well, you all had said that that as this thaw happened over the weekend, you would see more, probably more leaks. Did you see a bigger number of water main breaks in the last couple of days, and where are we at right now?
We had 5 this morning before I got on this call. I haven't got an update since then, but what we are, as far as main breaks, you're right. We expected to see more main breaks than we're having, but what we are seeing is we are getting inundated with calls from customers asking to have their servers. And I don't know the numbers right now. I apologize, but I know we were working 250 tickets just today that we got new tickets on people asking to have their services cut off due to main breaks. So I don't want to get too technical, but just over the last few days, we've had, like you said, the meters tell us when there's a leak. And there's things that customers do. They can ask us to cut their water off. They can cut their water off in their house to have leaks fixed or do things like that. We've had a reduction of 6,000 Now, these are notifications on our system that the meters are telling us we've got a leak. We've had a reduction of 6,000 of those over the past few days. So that's 6,000 meters out there that were leaking that now are not. And that could be us cutting them off, they cut themselves off, or they had a plumber come in and do some work. So that's, and some of that could have been also, to be honest, them continuing to drip their lines past the time that we asked them to do that. So there's several factors, but we are working hard to stop those leaks because that would definitely help.
And
Thank
one
you very
thing,
much.
let me add one quick thing, Nick, just real quick, back to the mains. If you notice from the dashboard yesterday, I think the number was 63 that had been repaired. And I think today it's up to 77. And you heard Nick say another 5 are being worked. So to your original question, it does look like we've seen additional breaks, or at least identified some more since the event. So I just wanted to mention that real quick.
Thanks,
Okay.
everybody.
We're gonna, thank you, Chris. So we're gonna move to Jonathan with AP.
Hi, folks. I wanted to ask, sort of looking forward, what can be done to upgrade or fix or safeguard the system if a similar circumstance happen? What specifically can you all put into place and invest in, and what kind of investment does that look like?
Nick, we're going to give a quick overview of the service improvement plan as it pertains to water, just at a high level.
Absolutely. So in the service plan, our 5-year service plan, in that plan, there is the installation of wells, which we've talked a lot about wells. So we put 2 new wells in service last year. We've got around 8 wells right now that are in various stages of being completed. We'll have those completed. Also involved in that is one of the components that we haven't talked a lot about, but in the plants, we have large pumps, large starters, wiring for that, breakers for that. We are in a process. We've upgraded 2 of our pumping stations with new components for that. We're going to do a 3rd pumping station this year and wrap that up. We're also having some engineering services to come in and evaluate some other things we can do to some of our infrastructure. But that's 2 of the biggest things that we're doing in the plants as far as helping out with a better system coming out of our plants, which would definitely help in situations like this.
Jonathan, did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so we will move to Blake Fontenay. Blake, thank you so very much. I just want to welcome you back to Memphis. I'm so happy that you're back. So what do you have? Blake?
Thank you, Gail. I'm glad to be back. I'm sorry, I know you all must have covered this, but I lost my audio for a couple of minutes. Do you have a timeline for when the boil water alert will end?
The boil water advisory precautionary is still in effect. If I heard you correctly, we do not have a time yet. And you may not have heard Nick Newman, our Vice President of Engineering Operations, spoke about the process that it would take to get that done. So once pressures get up to where they need to be, you're still probably looking at another couple of days because we have to go through flushing and testing and whatnot. So, but stay tuned. We're certainly going to keep everybody apprised of that process as soon as we know.
You have any other questions, Blake?
Okay. No, thank you.
Okay, so Director Sweat, I have a question. Could you share with us some of the challenges you all are facing at the fire department regarding all of this, and what is it that our public can do to help you all?
All right, thanks, Gail. Typical things, be safe in your homes. The best fire response we can make is the one we never have to go on. So, take care in your homes, practice regular fire safety. And if you need us, call us, we'll be there. We're struggling, our firefighters actually live in the fire stations. So they're under the same boil water alert. They actually have to cook and live at the fire station, just like they do at the home. So, we're getting out, trying to make sure that they have the resources they need so that they can work in a comfortable environment and have water to drink when they respond to these, to fire calls and EMS calls as well. So that's really it. I'm glad to see that the snow's melting and the streets are getting better, because last week with everyone else, we did struggle responding with the street conditions. But hopefully as the water pressure rises, continues to rise, we'll get back to normal operations. But, I just want to assure the public that, we're doing everything we can to take proactive measures to fight fire, maybe in a little different way than we're used to, but we're still operating and gonna provide the service that we normally do.
Thank you. Director Jones, is there anything that you would like to share with our public? And also, is there anything that you want to ask the public to work with you all or work with everyone on?
Yes, Gail, thank you. We would ask the public to be very conservative with our water intake. We are struggling and very frustrated with trying to get water into the county. So we're just asking them, please be conservative with their water intake.
And that means not washing cars, right?
Absolutely, that means not washing cars.
Well, I understand people are washing cars everywhere, and we're still in the water conservation mode. We're asking people to be very cautious in their water use so that we can all get through this as soon as possible. So we also have Mark Creech on here from TVA, and Mark, TVA brought in a whole lot of water. A lot of people in our community, some have slow water, some have no water. And we've been asking people to boil water as well as use bottled water. Could you talk to us about that?
Hey, Gail, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, there's several things that's been going on, and I really appreciate the opportunity to be on with everybody that's here today. TVA is actually back down their Allen combined cycle plant in reduction of actually intake of water here just to help out. I think this was in coordination, JT, with you and your team to do that. But also TVA is a part of the community, and many of our employees are actually a part of the community as well. So bringing in the 80,000 bottle of water is just a part of what we actually do as far as service is concerned. We've actually have multiple locations where they're being distributed today and probably through tomorrow. And also TVA is continuing to look for opportunities to bring in more water if we can, and also to work with JT and his team to see what we can do, and also to help not only Memphis, but the greater Shelby County area as well.
Okay, so do we have any other questions before I start making some announcements?
Hey, this is Nick. I do want to make a comment, and I do want to say I do appreciate TVA for what they did at their plant. That helped us considerably amount on the south end. That helped us with Methodist South Hospital, who was having some issues, who still are, but them just continuing operation there helped the entire water service on that south west part of town. So I want to say I do appreciate what y'all did for us there. That was a big help.
Okay,
and
thank
Gail,
you.
And Gail,
Yes.
before you wrap up, let me wrap up a little bit here just by thanking our partners being on today. Certainly echo what Nick said, Mark, to you and your team at TVA, and the cooperation has been excellent. We appreciate that. Certainly know that Director Jones and Director Sweat, it's really important, I think, as I've said before, to see how this community comes together in crises like this and try to work together to help make sure that lives are better. We're going to get through this. I'm optimistic about that. I know that it's challenging now. We don't underestimate that. And that's why we're spending so much time trying to make sure that we're getting this right. And so thank you for your patience. I continue to ask you, as we've said before, if you see any, even if you're not sure, if you see water leaking, running, or whatever, please call us. Let us know so we can come out and see what we can do as we get through this crisis. But again, thank you for your patience and your cooperation to the community. And I appreciate the opportunity to speak to the press as well today. Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a few announcements that many of our customers have been inquiring about. So disconnects for non-payment are suspended until further notice. We are not cutting off electric, gas, or water for non-payment until further notice. We have extended our payment plans. Customers have until March 31st of this year to apply for extended payment. And they will be given 12 months to pay their bills. So they will have until March 31st, 2022 to pay their bills. That's 12 months. So we're working with you on that. Also, customers have been asking about water leaks. How is that going to impact their bills? If you have main breaks or water leaks outside your home, that's MLGW. If you have water leaks inside your home, then that's on the customer. However, we do have the flexibility at MLGW to work with our customers on a one-time leak payment plan or reduction in your bill on the one-time leak
Yes,
plan.
ma'am.
Yeah. So, you know, many customers are very, very concerned about having really high bills, but we're going to work with you on that. So we expect to continue taking calls for emergencies the next few days. Some customers want to call in and sign up for the payment plans, but we're asking you to be patient and start calling next Tuesday, March 2nd, to set up your payment plans. Or you can email MLGW customer care at mlgw.org. That's MLGW customer care at mlgw.org to set up your payment arrangements. We also have a program called On Track, and that allows customers more than 12 months to pay their bill. You must have a minimum balance of $600, but we will work with you on that. Those tend to be our customers with higher bills, so we give you a little bit more time to pay those bills. And that number for On Track is 528-4828. 528-4828, and that is our On Track program, or you can email mlgwontrack@mlgw.org. That's mlgwontrack@mlgw.org. And we can't stress enough that you check with all of our social media platforms, check with our website, call MLGW for the facts and for accuracy on what's going on. We're going to make this information available to you not only every day, but several times a day as we learn you know, more information about what's going on with our water operations. We're going to make that available to our customers. So is there anything else, President?
Gail, let me make sure I clarify one quick thing. Making sure on the new billing arrangement that you said is extended through March 31st. Let me be clear.
Okay.
That's not just for water. That's for your MLGW bill. Make sure everybody's aware of that.
Exactly.
And that is a plan that there are many plans that we have that assist our customers in bill payments. That one that allows you up to 12 months to pay is the one that you were talking about that will end at the end of March. But just want everyone to be clear that the reminder of the no disconnects until further notice for any service, unless there's a water leak, of course, we're going to come out and turn that off. And then recognize that payment extension plan, that's the time that you have to sign up for that is through the end of March. And then you can have up to 12 months, doesn't mean you have to, but up to 12 months to repay that. Just want to make sure that's clear. And then there are a number of other plans. Call us, our service advisors will certainly help with that. Thank you.
Yeah, but please wait till next Tuesday, March 2nd to make those calls. Yeah, but we also have gotten a lot of questions about whether customers have to wash their hands, boil the water before they wash your hands. No, you don't. You don't have to do that, but for everything else that you need to use the boiling water for, please let it boil for 3 minutes. Yeah. So I don't have
anything regarding consumption. If you're going to consume it, that's when you need to boil it.
Yeah, if you're washing vegetables, washing food, please boil it before you do that. So I don't have any more announcements. I see no more hands raised from anyone in the media. None of our guests have additional questions. So thank you everyone for joining us. We're going to do these press events every day until further notice at 3 p.m. So please join us for the most current up-to-date information that we have regarding our water operations and water system at Memphis Light Gas and Water. Thank you.
Thank you.